Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, so many Kiwi men have experienced childhood trauma, unhealthy family dynamics, or a lack of role models growing up, and it's flowed through to how they live their lives. It's not good. So the government is pushing for men to reach out and seek help as a first step towards changing their ways. Seeking help is not about weakness, but about being courageous. Corban is a living example of this. He had a tough early start in life, witnessed his dad being a poor role model at home. Traumatic for Corban, yep, and this is all too common, this kind of story for New Zealand men. Yet it's a story often hidden and unheard. So, how was Corban meant to act when it was time to be a good man and partner himself, and what had he learned growing up, and how was that playing out for him? Corban is one of the blokes fronting the Change is Possible initiative being run by the Ministry of Social Development. This is for the Better Everythings campaign. Cool, nice to have you on the podcast. Good to see you, mate. How did your early experiences shape the way you saw yourself in relationships? How has that sort of flowed through? What happened to you in your childhood?
What happened to me in my childhood? From a young age, I did experience a lot of abuse within my household. And I remember it was like my 5th birthday. I remember walking into my dad beating up my mother, on my birthday. And that still stays with me, that vivid memory. And from then onwards, it was just a lot of control throughout my life. And it sort of formed me with certain aspects on, say, religion. My dad was a devoted Christian, a man of faith. And, when I was a child, I still made that connection of like, well, we go to church and stuff, but you're doing this to my mum.
Yeah.
And that sort of formed wired my connections to what I think about religion, and all of that. But, now I'm at the age now where I can do my own research and understand, I understood my father a lot, really, with basically how he was treated. And so I've made those connections. But, yeah, it formed me to feel like I was supposed to be in control, and, what I said went within our household type of thing. And I didn't like being challenged.
Right.
And I'd use emotional abuse was probably my biggest thing that I affected my darling with. And, yeah, that was basically it, because I had an understanding that, physical violence was physical abuse, but there's all these different types of violence. You've got financial violence, financial abuse, emotional abuse, so they all fall under violence or some sort of abuse. So
abuse comes in many forms. Basically, abuse comes in so many forms. It's not just whacking someone. So did you see what because even your dad, with that violence, that's about control. That's about control. And so did that affect you in the way that you played that out in your future relationships?
Yeah. I played that out in my future relationships. I'm fortunate this is my 2nd relationship, but my first one was really bad, and that's when I noticed that just the way I communicated wasn't the best. Now I understand that women sort of develop a bit better and they're a bit more in tune with themselves from a younger age. So it was all of these things, and I was lost. I didn't really understand how to communicate, and I was playing this masculine, the stoic role model, not realizing that, vulnerability builds connection, within our whānau, within our household. You need to let down your shield sometimes and drop to the level. So
it's so important, isn't it? Those early years, how you deal with young people, the way they see you, your behaviour, your role modelling of behaviour, because they learn from you. So it's being a parent is so important, eh?
Exactly. I think they say the first 3 years of the child's birth are observing. Doesn't necessarily mean the language coming out of their mouth, but it's the tone, the facial expressions, all of these things you pick up on them.
And so what was it like? So you went into you went and sought help and you walked into a men's group for the first time. How did it feel to speak to other men there about these sorts of issues? What was it like for you?
Oh, for me it was daunting. My self-critic was saying, I don't need to go to this, I'm not using physical abuse, and all of these things. It was really daunting for me because I think I'm a bit of an introvert, so going into a crowd like that and being vulnerable with people you don't really know, everyone sort of was a bit standoffish at the start, but I just learnt so much. I learnt so much, and as a collective of men being there, holding that space for each other and being vulnerable, it was empowering, eh?
And you realise
the
you're not on
amount
your
of
own.
information.
You realise you're not on your own.
Yeah.
You're with other guys
Yeah.
who have been through something really similar, and so you're looking around the room, I suppose, and suddenly you're not alone.
And for me, it was like a lot of it, I think it was my ego, most of it, but a social hierarchy. Like I met a lot of people from different aspects of life and different careers and stuff like that. And it sort of made me feel a bit more comfortable. Like it's not necessarily just the young Māori that are going through this. There's Pākehā, there's European, there's all cultures. Everyone's dealing with it, eh?
Well,
Trying to navigate it.
It doesn't choose a particular race or particular person. It's across the board. There can be white guys in suits, can be young Māori, can be Pacific Island, or whatever it might be. We're all men, and we all make mistakes because we've all learned behaviours from someone that perhaps wasn't right. Have you put things right with your dad?
Yeah, I put things right with my father. I love my father. He's not with us anymore, but he's always with me, if you know what I mean, in spirit. And I'm so glad that we healed our connection and we got talking with each other and spent a lot more time with each other. I really understood where he came from, the mamai within his family, generational trauma. And when we talk about breaking the cycle, it's breaking that. Hey,
it's so important. It's so important what you just said. That mamai or that hurt that you're talking about. It's learned from somewhere. So he learned it from somewhere. He learned it from somewhere. It's handed down. It's so important to break cycles, and congratulations, for that, because when you break a cycle, that stops that particular behaviour within that community or that particular family. It's huge. It's life changing. So well done. What are some of the betters that you've gotten from changing your behaviour? What are in terms of your relationship? What's better as a result?
Oh, the result is more young men coming to speak to me. My mates reaching out, talking. I used to take training back in NZ within young children. We'd put little hints in there, like when they'd say, "Oh, you're training like a gill. Hey, what does a gill look like? What does that look like? What do you mean by that?" Questioning that to that depth. But for me, our connection's a lot better. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Hey, by all means, we still have our little hiccups, but it's the communication within that, the taking a break, coming back, reconnecting, the healing, all this process. Not leaving it for a week and then forgetting about it. It's all these things that build our connection together. So now my partner feels comfortable sharing everything for me. We're like best mates.
Yeah. It sounds to me like it's about being accountable, hey? It's about being transparent and accountable and being honest. Yeah. Looking in the mirror and saying the problem is here, and you're being accountable and honest. What kind of messages of support have you gotten from friends and strangers and whānau around lending your story to this campaign?
Oh, they're saying it's so empowering for the start. It's so empowering. And, a lot of people, I didn't expect that from you, all of this stuff. Hearing from people that I worked amongst but not necessarily had a connection with, reaching out and saying, wow, like this is what I'm going through at the moment. And then it's obviously referring them to, I started at this men's group, hey. So within my whānau, everyone knows my story. Everyone knows that they can come and talk to me about anything. I'm not the person that has all the advice, but I could sort of help them in any way, eh?
How long do you reckon it takes to turn a man around? Because, we're men and we're complex and we have issues. And a lot of them are learned and passed down, as we're talking about here, passed down from our fathers or whatever, who weren't perfect, and they got passed down as well. So how long does it take to change a man, do you reckon? How long is it, we're all work in progress, but how long does it take to change you reckon?
Yeah, I think I think I'm about 3.5 years and I'm still changing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you start with the smaller, not implementing everything at once, because I felt for me that was sort of like overwhelming. Like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Just starting with the small things, eh? Probably awareness, eh? Awareness is probably the biggest thing, being able to reflect and be aware of your own actions.
Yeah.
I think it starts there, and that can take anywhere from 6 months to a year.
It's interesting. I try and when I look at this, my behaviours, whatever, I try and turn myself around, so I'm looking at myself. So I go, what am I looking like here? What am I sounding like? Because everyone thinks, I'm right, I'm perfect, I'm right. But not necessarily. So do you find yourself constantly checking yourself? Is it, what am I saying? How do I sound here? What am I sounding like? Am I being an idiot? Do you often find you checking yourself?
I check myself, but I used to have to set alarms, as funny as it sounds. I used to set alarms to go through have I had enough water? Have I ate? I used to how am I feeling in this moment? It was just used to be at lunchtime when I had time to go on my phone, because that was for me. Well, I'm ADHD, so I'm always going everywhere. Always going everywhere. So I felt a stable, consistent routine was to have an alarm set for me to sort of evaluate myself. How am I feeling in this moment? Because noticing your early warning signs is the next big thing, Like, how do I feel when I've got all this energy? When I'm angry? When I'm sitting at a level 5, have I drunk enough water? Have I ate? Because if I have an altercation, I'm going to go straight to a 9, because I haven't had that self-care, I guess.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard someone do that before, but setting sort of day alarms, people think of alarm as waking up in the morning, but you're setting yourself these alarms as a reminder to just to check yourself and to make sure that you got all the settings right. It's amazing.
Yeah. And obviously journaling is another big thing. I don't journal every day, but I journal when I need to feel like it. Same with meditation. I don't meditate every day, but I meditate when I feel like it, when I need to.
And when you feel like you're going down the old path, what do you do?
When I feel like I'm going down the old path, I'll probably generally go on a walk with my dog. And that's probably our time where I can sort of evaluate myself and lower my levels and come back and speak with my darling.
Yeah, so it's all about awareness, eh? It's all about awareness, because I'm like you. I think men of yesterday or men of old wouldn't have gone for the walk. They might have done the damage inside, but now going for the walk is crucial. It means the stresses. Walk to the top of the road and back. It's crucial. Breathe. Get some context.
That's it. Breathing's another big thing as well. Just taking a breath.
Yeah, because and then take another one, and walk.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell men who might be listening to this, who want to be better, for their partners and themselves? What would be your one bit of advice that you'd like to share with them?
You got to make the change. People can say you need to do it, but you got to really feel it. And then upon that, when you're going through that change, you start to feel this feeling of empowerment, because you can notice yourself changing. It's more of I felt like for me, it was like a spiritual, I felt spiritually uplifted because I'm bettering myself.
Yes.
And then with that, just like anything, you can apply this to any aspect of life, but consistency builds momentum,
So true.
So anything we're consistent with, it just starts creating this momentum, and it just, you just keep going on the up.
You're onto it, man. I'm really impressed with you, because consistency is repetition, and repetition. If you repeat good things, have good people around you. That's quite crucial too. If you have good friends, good people, then you will repeat success. And so it's a constant reminder. Do you reckon you'll get to the stage where you don't have to have the alarms, where you don't have to keep checking yourself, because the behaviour will become so permanent and so repetitive that you won't need to recheck yourself? Do you reckon you'll get to that point?
Yeah. I think I'm always going to be checking myself, but I'm not doing the alarms now. I'm quite aware of myself and how I speak to others and problems that I occur. I'm very aware of myself now. Yeah. And I think that's, we go back to that quote, consistency builds momentum. I never used to meditate. I never used to journal, but I started to feel like it was good for me. And then, I don't like the thing of, you need to meditate every day. Yeah. You need to journal every day. It's I think it brings it back to yourself, your teen, doing it when you feel like it, when you feel like you need to do it, not necessarily going off what other people say. So.
Well, and I think that's a really important thing to actually just to repeat, because as a man, potentially with these issues, the last thing you want to be doing is be told what to do all the time, because that might be some of the reason why we're like this. So if we get told, if we get instructed to do something, that might be a bit of a barrier. But you take responsibility for that behaviour, and then you every couple of days you'll do that, and so that's accountability. But as long as you do it, but not following some sort of rigid timetable of doing it, because people will push back on that, I reckon.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
What about the final thing? What about those staunch men, those guys who think, oh, I'm not going into that men's group, no, look at that, mate, that's not me, mate, no, I'm not going to share that. But you actually go through that door and then the world changes, eh?
Yeah, the world changes when you walk through that door. And what I noticed is I had a lovely lady, Kay, that was just like, oh, she just always looked after me, but she always challenged me. And I'd come home from that men's group, and this is when my partner and Ella and I would talk as a collective and go, what do you think about this? What do you think about this question or this topic we talked about during men's group? So when you go into men's group and you feel like you're getting picked on or you feel like you're challenged, that's a good thing. Hey, you don't want to walk out of there feeling like you know everything. You want to walk out of there thinking about it, because when you're challenged, you're going back home and you're thinking in your head, okay, I can't really see that view, and you end up making a connection or a breakthrough where you understand. So being challenged is good. It's very confronting first walking in there, and it's something that I think after a month you generally get comfortable with your men around you. So yeah.
Awesome. Hey, great journey, great story, and all the best. Take care of yourself. Look after yourself. Stay strong.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan. Can I leave us with a whakatauki?
Aye.
It's ko wāmatua te kuri o rātou, eh? Who are we if not for them? So have a think about that. I'm not here if it wasn't for all those people at Changeability, all my whānau around me that supported me, eh? And break the cycle.
Good take, bro. Awesome. Well done.
Yeah.
Kia ora, bro. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Kia ora.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan.